Welcome back to Kart Mechanic Simulator 2018, and as you just seen, I had some fun driving some of these cars out there on the track. But these are not the ones that have been our best of the best performers. So why don't we start right away by talking about our top speed test. Isn't it always fun watching cars trying to reach their top speeds? Now, from our results, we've got our top 5 cars in the garage. First place is our modified Dodge Challenger, running at a top speed of 180 miles per hour. And second, a surprise, we have our modified Salem Flamo 6B, running at 150 miles per hour, so definitely a big drop off there. Our next competitor was the Sakura GT20, running a respectable 145. And then our honorable mentions is our Dodge Challenger stock variant that ran a 144. And another big step down to the Salem Flamo stock variant running a 123. So kind of surprising that two of the probably my least favorite cars out of the ones I've built so far made the top 5 on the top speed challenge. Now let's head over to the racetrack and see what they can do. And that was some fun trips around the game's basic racetrack, which to me I thought it would have benefited more of the cars that had better handling because it was slightly more technical and shorter straightaways. But our number one finisher was our stock Dodge Challenger RT. One of the most powerful vehicles I have, but I think it was a little more controllable, which is why it performed better than our modified variant. But it ran the track in 1 minute, 4 seconds, and 71 thousandths. Our second place finisher was our Sakura GT20, which really had a lot of fun out there with it. It's a little bit loose in the back end, but not crazy. Still let me pull out some phenomenal times. Just barely off that Challenger at 1 minute, 4 seconds, and 819 thousandths. So very close between those two. Our third finisher was a few seconds back in the Dodge Challenger modified variant. Lots of power, but that led to a lot of oversteer, a lot of wheel spinning. Only managed to pull off a 1 minute, 8 second, 670 thousandths there. And we did have a couple surprise finishers in our Bolt Roulette F-Mill, the original torque monster that we had in this game. It surprised me with being as controllable it was and as fast as it was, showing up at 1 minute, 8 seconds, and 903 thousandths, so just barely off the Challenger as well. And then our modified Mazda RX-3 rounding up the top 5 at a respectable 1 minute, 9 seconds, and 505 thousandths. There were a couple cars that I had that I probably could have ran much better times with, and I had run better times with, but I just did it off camera, and so therefore I'm not counting those times, because if I can't show it to prove it, I'm not going to record it. Now let's head to the Laguna Seca. Laguna Seca has been my favorite racetrack in such a long time, especially that famous corkscrew turn. I mean, it just absolutely blows me away every time I run on that track about how fun that is, especially in that corner. A track that has a bit longer straights, only a couple really technical turns in it. I expected our higher powered vehicles to really shine here, and I was kind of shocked that our number one performer by a long ways was the Sakura GT20 modified variant, running the Seika at 1 minute 36 and 72 thousandths of a second. Just a phenomenal time. I think I could have gotten that car a lot faster, but I had it break away from me a little too many times. Hit a couple things a few times, but I did record one lap that was a tad bit faster, but it did shortcut the track by a tad bit on the first hairpin, so I didn't record that one. Next was our biggest horsepower car in the Challenger, our modified variant, of course, running it in 1 minute 39 and 422 thousandths of a second. Fairly nice showing. Again, just the lack of controllability on that car really kind of hurt it. And then my most surprising car, I can't say the most surprising car, but probably the happiest car I've been with on how it performed was the modified Bolt Roulette FML, running in a 1 minute 41 second and 190 thousand. So really, really good performance out of a car that was really underpowered to start with. And rounding out our top 5 is our Mazda RX-3 modified variant. A car that had a ton of grip, which really made me throw it around the corners a lot, that I really, really enjoyed. Running at a 142 and 240 thousandths. And our modified Salem Flamos, stepping it up and showing that even these little cars that people don't really care for can actually shine. And running the track in a 143.506. Now we leave from my favorite track in Laguna Seca to probably one of the most famous tracks on television, the Top Gear test track. And back after the Top Gear test track, one of the most famous tracks on TV, we have some pretty interesting results here. Now, this track does have a lot of more technical turns, but some really long stretch to get some speed. So I was kind of surprised by the results here again. Really preferring the cars that seem to have had lower power outputs. The Sakura GT20, again, our top performer, running the track in a 1 minute 8 second and 654 thousandths. Just absolutely blowing away all the competition. The next closest was our stock Dodge Challenger, running the track at 1 minute 13 seconds and 4 thousandths. So I mean, quite a big difference there. And then again, another drop off going to our Bolt Roulette FML, who finished in third at 114 and 771 thousandths. And our pair of Mazda RX-3s became our number 4 and 5, with our modified running at 1 minute 15 seconds and 722 thousandths, and our stock variant at 1 minute 15 seconds and 839 thousandths. I mean, just very, very close to each other. Even the grip on those two cars were just absolutely phenomenal. I was going almost flat out everywhere. I did have to slow down a few times on the RX3 modified variant there to make around get around some of the corners. Those cars were absolutely phenomenal. Now, as far as our most improved from as far as driving goes from stock to modified, I really wanted to say it was going to be our Bolt Roller F Mill because I mean it was such a dramatic difference between the stock variant and the modified variant. But just pure performance on the numbers and everything, the Sakura GT20, the stock variant was just very slow, very lumbered. It just did not feel like it wanted to move. In this modified version, was just absolutely phenomenal. Had just a little bit of back end wiggle, but really good grip all around. Great performance results, especially getting around out of the corners. By far my most improved car. I think my most disappointing car, though, for the whole thing, even though it did make a top 5 finish, was our Mazda RX-3 stock variant. The car just seemed like it did not want to get out of its own way. It barely wanted to move. It couldn't get through the corners very well. It couldn't get out of the corners well at all. If there was a slightly longer stretch, it was not doing anything. It just wouldn't have it. I like the car. I love the grip in it, but just did not have the power and engine performance that I would really expect it to have out of that kind of a rotary. But we will see you guys back next week as I work on a pair of Salem Fastbacks. I'm sorry, a trio of Salem Fastbacks. Yes, a trio. 3 different engines we're going to be tackling next week on the same basic model of the car. All going to be performance variants because clearly we know we're going to make a lot more money out of the performance cars than we do anything else. When I get around to it, I might be able to find some stock cars to throw together just to throw some numbers in to see how well they do. But we're definitely going to be doing performance versions of the Salem Fastback triplets. See you then.